All right. I mean, I am here with the legendary, the one and only Mr. Otis Williams, founder of the Temptations. Thank you for speaking with me.
My pleasure, Kyle. Very happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. So let's first start off with A Capitol Fourth. So you're going to be performing for the PBS special this year. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, it was a wonderful event for us to be at to do the taping, which would be, I think, about 2 weeks ago, come this weekend. But it was wonderful. You know, we did a 3-song medley, and we did Get Ready, out of Get Ready to Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and out of Ain't Too Proud to Beg to My Girl. You know, so it was smooth. You know, just thank God for the experience to be able to make it happen the way it happened, because, you know, this was a different kind of endeavor because we're used to performing in front of a crowd. But this was what it is because of what we're dealing with as far as this pandemic 19. You know, but it was wonderful, and we did it, and then the producers and everybody connected seemed to be happy with what we did. So there it is.
I was lucky enough to meet you guys and watch you perform. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before with PBS.
Yeah, I think it was year before.
I mean, you guys were incredible.
Well, you know, I thank you for that, because when you've been around as long as we have, come January of next year, it'll be 60 years. So we've had a lot of practice to be, hopefully I'm right in saying incredible, you know. So I'm still in wonderment behind still being here almost 60 years later, because I never would imagine when we started out in Detroit in 1961 that I would still be here doing this, and especially with all the different changes that I've gone through. But here we are, still riding the half the horse.
And I love that. You know, back in your first number one was 1964, My Girl. And,
Yes.
you know, as you said, 59, almost 60 years later, you are still performing, still relevant, still vital. And throughout all of the different changes in both pop culture and the world and politics and everything, you guys have pushed through. What do you think is the reason for that?
One thing I think behooves us to know that the one thing that's constant in life is change. We have been able to adapt to whatever the musical trend would take forward, you know, because show business can be such a fickle business. And to be around, if you were to be around 5 to 10 years, that's a long time, but to be around for 60 years, you know, that's an incredible love of the public and the love of us, what we do, being able to adapt to the musical trend, you know, because that's always changing from one brand of music to another kind. And we've been able to withstand that. So it's a hard work, love, dedication, and understanding there's always going to be change. Being able to adapt with the change of time is one of the most important things. So the Temps have been able to do that.
And your live show, I mean, as performers, right from the gate, you guys have had a energetic live show that is replicated even today. I love Bruno Mars, and you know the thing he does. I mean, that's
Yeah.
inspired by you guys.
Yeah.
How does that feel to be like a trailblazer like that?
It feels good. You know, when I saw Bruno Mars and these guys do, I think it was the Super Bowl a couple years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I saw him doing something. I said, "Oh yeah, that's a Temptation move they just did right there." You know, so it really feels good when you can see someone that's happening now, but they're still reaching back in time, bringing forth what was in the past up to today. And I'm very impressed, you know, that we've been able to touch so many wonderful and talented people to help carry the Temptations on by taking little tidbits from what we are known for, implementing that into their show. So it was great to see Bruno Mars, and we met Boys to Men, a group out of Boston. Wow, can't think of their name right now.
Not New Kids.
I know. Wow. Geez, that's a shame, because they patterned themselves after us. 5 guys out of the Boston area. But, you know, it's great to see that happen. And, you know, and I just love it, because here we are, like I said, in a minute, Lord willing, it'll be 60 years come January.
That's absolutely incredible. And, you know, one of the testaments, I mean, your catalog of songs, you know, I mean, My Girl, Ain't Too Proud to Beg, I love, uh, I'm gonna make you
Ah,
love.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now you got a voice there, but you better do some recording yourself.
Thank you. You, so it's just hit after hit after hit after hit. What, you know, was that? Tell me about how that happened, because as you said, you know, people are today are lucky, well, even then, we're lucky to get a 5 or 10 year career. People
Sure.
are lucky to get one hit, let alone a whole catalog of hits. what, what is that for the Temps? Why did that happen?
Well, you know what? When I stop and review my life from when we signed with Motown in 1961 all the way up to the present time, you know, like I've always said, when we are performing, there's a sit-down session that we do. And I tell the audience, there will never, ever be a recording company like Motown Records. Uh, we were very lucky to be in Detroit because, you know, Detroit has always been known for the big three, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler. I said, well, no, Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler's got to move over. Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, Motown, you know, and it's such a special kind of company that we were blessed to have all those talented people there, you know, the Smokey Robinson, the Holland, W. Holland, Norman Whitfield, Barry Gordy, Ashford and Simpson, cranking out hits, you know, hit after hit. And the Temps was caught up in that, Norman Whitfield, you know, Barry Strong, you know, and we were caught up in that. And little did we know at the time when we signed that we would have that kind of record for a track record for having hits. So a lot of it I have to give to being in Detroit at Motown at that time. And just God brought that little company together for a special reason. Because like I've always said, Motown was no happenstance. The 60s was the most tumultuous decade in the last 100 years. And here comes this little two-story family flat that housed all those talented people to produce such wonderful hits. That those songs I heard the other day when I was being interviewed, the disc jockey, before he started introducing me, he played a little snippet of Ain't Too Proud. So I'm sitting there listening and I said, wow, now we're talking about 1966, 67. That song sounds so relevant and very good. Here it is almost 60 years later. So, hey, I'm just a blessed man to be in a blessed group, to be connected with a very wonderful company like Motown.
And, you know, I mean, Motown, the label and the movement of music and all of the talented artists with it really went on to change not just pop culture, but music.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we've traveled to different parts of the world, like Gdansk, Poland. That was shortly after the Iron Curtain, you know, began to collapse. And was a Rolling Stone, and you know, our song, even though we were in a country that spoke a whole other language, but they were singing our songs in English. So after the show, I said, how do you guys get our music? And they said, black market. Anything about Motown and Motown artists, we got to find a way to get that, you know, get that. So I was very touched behind that. And I can name a whole lot of different instances that made me really stop and think about the impact that music can have on people's life. Because like I said, we were on a world tour in '75, and this was shortly after the Vietnam War had ended. And three guys that were in the service, they recognized me and they said, Mr. Williams, you just don't know the impact that you guys have had on us while we were over in the jungle. And I said, really? And they started running it down how impactful Motown and the Four Tops, the Supremes, and all of us meant to them. As they were explaining that to me, they stood there crying. And it touched me, so I said, wow, these guys putting their lives on the line. But they would come back to the camp and they said, we got to hear the Temptations. We got to hear something from Motown. He said, you all kept us inspired to get back to the world. And that's what they refer to America as, the world. So I've had a lot of instances that made me say, this is a very special time in my life. And I'm still enjoying the ride 60 years later.
And you should, you know, I mean, it's incredible, the legacy that you have and continue to create. And speaking of legacy, you've had a movie about you guys. You have a musical that came out that debuted on Broadway last year, Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
Yes.
What is that like to see your life in sorts on stage and screen?
You know what? Let me tell you, when I first saw them assemble in New York, and they were just beginning to, rehearse for the play. So my manager, my business manager, Doogie, my road manager, and the heavyweights that were involved with the play, we were sitting up against the wall while the actors did their first scene. So after they did that, I got up and the whole cast surrounded me. And I said, you guys and girls moved me to tears. I am so touched, And so one of the guys said, well, Mr. Williams, if you feel that way right now, that must mean we have a hit. And I said, I like to think so, And then one guy said, well, grown men cry too, And then that they were referring to that I was moved so that I never would imagine that to sit and watch my life be that kind of impactful, not only on me, but everybody that was connected. So when they opened up in Berkeley, California, about 3 years ago now, it was awesome because I saw the whole show. And the thing about my play is it's not only about the music. Shelley, my manager, said, Otis, it's not only about the music, it's the story. And when you see the play, and once we get past this pandemic, it will be back on Broadway. If you get a chance, go see it. You will sit there and the people, it's funny because as I'm sitting in the audience, people knew who I was. So they would sit there and they would look at the play and then they would slowly crane it to see what kind of emotion I was showing. And I said, yeah, it moved me to tears, but it's very impactful. And I'm just so thankful that I never would imagine that my life story, the Temps and us, would be portrayed so wonderfully well on Broadway and received so well. So they are talking about next year, it will go across the country once we get past this pandemic, and then on over to Europe and various other places. So I'm just a blessed man.
That's incredible, and it actually is it is actually the first thing that once Broadway opens up again that is on my list to see, because the reviews have been excellent, and of course it's got a catalog of hits. So
yes.
I'm looking forward to that. So, and you guys you released an album 2 years ago. What's next for you?
Well, we're getting ready to line up for a 60th anniversary album. I think it's a must-have in the sense of fresh, brand new material, and to let our fans know that we are still relevant here this 60 years later. And our album, the whole premise of the Temptations, being part of Motown and from Motown, it will always be centered around great songs with great melodies, great songs with great lyrics, produced well, because that's what we are known for. So we will not slack-jaw our audience and just throwing something together and calling it the 60th album. We will definitely make it very profound in the production end and the acceptance of our fans, because that's what they deserve for supporting us all these many years later. So it will definitely be a album that would be, I think I would be very proud of to showcase.
And I would love to remember that memorial, and obviously this was when he passed, but they did a memorial, like a tribute concert to Michael Jackson, and all these artists that were influenced by him came and performed. I would love to see a bunch of great artists that have influenced, that you have influenced them to do some of your songs along with you guys. I think that would just be a fun thing to see, over generations, how just how many generations of people from all walks of life that the Temps music is such.
Yeah, I would like to see that. Well, the future is still very bright. I like to think of it in a very optimistic term, even with us going through what we're going through. I always try and stay very, encouraged about life and what have you. That would be a very interesting thing to see, because that had yet to be done. And I'd like to see that, see how it would be seeing other groups doing our stuff. And there's something in the works, but I won't speak on it yet because I don't want to bad luck it. But somebody got a very interesting slant about presenting the Temptations in the 21st century. So I met with them the other day, and after they ran down their concept, and I loved the concept, I said, well, fine, the ball is in your court, meaning they have to go and secure the music so we can do this. So if it happens, we'll get back and I'll tell you what it is.
That's awesome. So finally, you have had, success throughout decades on multiple platforms. What does success mean to you personally as Mr. Otis Williams?
Well, success means quite a bit to me because, like I say, I'm a little fella from Texarkana, Texas, being raised by two wonderful grandmothers. And so to come from Texarkana to come to Detroit, and little did I know that I would become part of Motown Records. And I sit around and I look at what I have achieved, but it was all through hard work, dedication, perseverance. Anything of success don't come easy, because when you have to work at it and you achieve it, you appreciate it even more so because you put the time in, you put the blood, sweat, and tears in it. It holds value, it holds purpose. So I'm very, very thankful that I've had such a long career, and I have to work hard at it, which we still work hard at it. We don't take it for granted, even though we've been around as long as we have. We still put blood, sweat, and tears in it because that gives it purpose. And when we walk out on stage, our fans expect the Temptations to be as such that they've known us for all these years. So it means a lot because that's something that I enjoy still. And the power of music, the power of success, when they can sit back and see the labor of love that we have put in it and the love and dedication that our fans have given us, it's powerful, so I don't take it for granted, and I'm very, very thankful for that.
Thank you so much for speaking with me, sir. It is an honor to talk to you, and I look forward to the Temps performing on Capitol Fourth this weekend, and I'm really excited for that 60th anniversary Temps album next year.
Well, you got it, and once we do it, I'd like to get in touch with you and give you one directly from me to you.
Thank you so much, sir, and you got to come back on and we'll talk about the new album.
Let's do this.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.